Hey, friends. We find ourselves in a supercharged full moon lunar eclipse portal, purr, 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 and a host of other celestial parties going on, fun ones, not fun ones. And such is the activity of the heavens, right? And they're always meeting, crossing, posturing, making shapes together, T's, squares, triangles. It's all perspectival, right? And I will remind us again, planets do not control humans. Humans kind of are supposedly at least have the capacity to be in control of humans. We are part of a beautiful, complex, interconnected web of life that includes what rests in the sky. And we are in the inheritance of the ancestors who had way more time than we do to observe the sky and also observe humans and to see patterns. This thing we call astrology is really just one of the many inheritances of the ancestors. It's storytelling. And it's storytelling about perception, about how you see the thing. So there's a language of malefics and benefics, and they are in this crazy interplay as well. So when we approach moments of intensity, like a full moon, lunar eclipse, supercharged vibes, then it's gonna land differently for each individual. We could look at the individual astrological chart. We could look at the birth chart, right? And we could say, oh, wow, like here's these themes and here's how these celestials interact. And, that's one way to do it. But we could also do it just from the wisdom of our own bodies and from the data that we can observe and what is also observable in the collective, in the interconnected web of life, in the plant world, in the weather and seismic activity. But check it out. We are in a few counts of time, but the like kind of tight ones that we're in right now, we're in the globalization age. We're in the information age. And we are still currently in the neoliberalist capitalist age, right? These are tight little times within the post-World War II era. Yeah, we're still hooked in on how the globe was redesigned after World War II. That is still a major factor in things. Like, I don't even know if my kiddo, are they even going to learn about these things anymore? Like, I don't know. They learn so little about it. There's no depth. Having taught the curriculum, I can see there's so little depth. Like, there's no look at the complexities of it. So it really is just like, oh, a thing that happened. And it's still a major thing that happened that's still playing out. We are in the industrial age, and we are in modern, we could say modernity, but that's like kind of generalized. Modernity is going to go along with industrial age, basically, for the most part. And then we're in a larger civilizational model, like an era. And that's where we might even get to some of this South Asian inspired language like yuga, an era, an epoch, big measurement of time. So anywho, so I want to name this complicating factor that we have of today in terms of the information age. We now have access to more information about any subject matter whatsoever, more than we could ever digest in one lifetime. I feel like in one day, we have more information, just barrage, than you could process in a year. It's just ridiculous. And I think if we don't periodically pause and remind ourselves that almost every day, unless you're living some like really fun rural life, or like on retreat kind of thing, or you're in some kind of cocoon and you're like, nah, I'm not paying attention to anything, then you are in the information barrage. And I think information barrage unnecessarily complicates meaning making. So instead of being trained to follow your intuition and to just go with the first meaning making that you give, a sign, a symbol, an oracle, a divination, an astrology like this, instead of just having like this free flow, just going with the first thing that came up and just going with that meaning making, it's like we get into the result, the outcome of this constant information overload. So when we come to, astrology, I mean, right off the bat, like, well, which system? Because the tropical guys are saying such and such things happening in such and such a place, and then the Vedic friends are saying this thing is happening. It's like, oh, right off the bat, which one do I go with? The one in the magazine or the newspaper? Or like, yeah, it's already confusing right from the jump. Okay, well, let's just say we just go with the Vedic one. Like, I mean, that's what I did. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna go with this one. And so then we say, okay, like this moon is happening. Well, here's all these predictions around this moon, this portal. Right? Oh, these planets are interacting with this thing in this place and then making these shapes and so what are you left with then? Are you now looking for the thing to happen that was prophesized, essentially, future told? Like, or what I would like to encourage us towards is you're in your own experience. And these prophecies, future tellings, are just sets of possibilities. Because something that appears malefic may not be malefic. Equally, something that appears benefic, it might not be like this. For example, there's something called too much of a good thing. Right? Oh, expansion, Jupiter. Oh no, now I'm like gaining weight. Too much. I'm expanding, literally expanding under the influence of this celestial. So when playing with astrology, what I think is important is to play. Right? It's just possibilities. We can say general themes or like a conducive atmosphere. So when something is materially constrained, that does mean that it is spiritually enhanced in the language of astrology. So we're at eclipse time. We call it eclipse season because eclipses come in like pairs or threes. We're starting with a lunar eclipse, and then it'll be followed at the next new moon, we will have a solar eclipse. Moon means mind. So, first point is just like, how is your mind feeling in this portal right now? If you're having an experience of like unhelpful thoughts, mind just kind of all over the place, distracted, a sort of cut off feeling, this is the time where you just let the mind blabber. You don't hook into anything. In a couple days, if some of these thoughts are still with you, yeah, then like sit with the thought, see what's underneath, do some contemplation or resourcing around it or something like this. But like this moon portal with eclipse energy, you got to take 99% of it with a grain of salt. You might just be like kind of all over the place. Easy, easy, easy with yourself. This is not the time where we like start new things, come up with the big ideas. Nah, not this moon. Eclipse is like scissors. So something could be resolving in within that thought process to cycle on into the next thing or the next cycle, right? Eclipses can cut things into your life and cut things out. It's not always cut out. So sometimes there can be this like cut in move. Again, the advice points towards ease and flexibility, an ability to be able to recognize when something's cutting in or cutting out. The advice generally around cutting things, cutting out is let it go. Don't be the guy that's trying to hang on to the thing that's getting cut out because it's been cut. You try to hang on to it, you can't save it, you can't keep it. So all you're going to do is create unnecessary discomfort for yourself. Do that. But maybe something's going to get cut in. We should also remain aware, and like it's like a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen. Somebody's like, I'm taking you to the theater. You're like, what's the play? I'm going to surprise you. Like, okay. You have no idea. Comedy, tragedy, musical, community theater, some weird interactive improv thing. You don't know. So we remain open, like, to the possibilities. All right. So I've been using more and more language around object, subject, subjective experience, objective experience, because we have to hear this over and over and over and over again before it starts making any sense. Not only that intellectual end of the process, but then is your internal process of meditating and watching the flow of thoughts. So that's the first skill building, right? It's literally the part where you're like in meditation. So a meditative mindset, meaning relaxation plus observation, and an ability to maintain said meditative state. That's where it starts. An ability to focus the mind on anything, right? On any one thing. And then that's not the thoughts, just a thing, the breath, an external object, a yantra, whatever. But we need an object. When we go on doing that, training the mind to simply focus on an object, what will come into view is your endless flow of thoughts. So, as we start to experience the endless flow of thoughts, like most people, then the next stage of struggle, right, is staying focused on that object, the breath, the externalized object, right? And not, as the thoughts come in, being like squirrel, like not observing the thought, becoming the thought, right? The full experience of the thought. So no more meditative slight spaciousness of currently I, Yoli Maya Ye, am both the producer of the thought and the witnesser of the thought. So at first, thoughts are just going to be these objects of disturbance to the potential calmness of the meditative state. And that has to go on for a while. As you diffuse your irritation around thoughts, as you get to know sensation in the body, as you start to see that breath and thought is connected, so the quality of thoughts changes with the quality of the breath, that there's a space in between the breaths where the quality of thought is also different. So, wow, we really have to like slow it down. It's gotta go like that. That meditation's gotta look like that. With enough comfort and repetition, we can get into the next layers of complexity. That's the object-subject game. Like this. So that begins with us being able to, here's the object, and here's the aspect of your mind that is perceiving that object. There has to be some space made between the two. But without that space, you are completely identified with the object. So there's a lot to explore in here. That's why I'm just using the language wherever I can. So, what's important is that you try to see this within yourself. That's the key. Because I can tell you about it over and over again, and I can narrate my own brain, which is helpful. With this. And I can also describe my experience last week, where something really shook me in a very core place, and I could not make space between the object and me perceiving it. I could not make any space to be able to analyze the object. I was so stuck in my subjective narrative of this object. I couldn't see my way out of it. So I called the astrologer. Let's look at the chart. Enter some tools. Right? So I'm describing something that's situational, but feels tied to both fate and purpose. It felt real deep. And as a student of astrology, I'm looking at my own chart and I'm like, nope, I got 0.0 clarity because subject is stuck on the object. I could not read for myself. And this is a very important side note. This is why there will always be healers, readers, you know, mancers of all sorts. You need help for your thing. Spiritual friends, bodhisattva gurus. Oh no, there will always be, because it's not a closed circuit. Everyone needs help. So I've also met plenty of enlightened people that also need help. So again, don't think that there's something called enlightenment where you no longer need help. Nope, hard no. So I'm on this little, this little track here to come back around to these possibly really helpful tools as we think about our interconnectedness with the celestials, with the challenges here on Earth, and the interplay that we have. And this moon moment, the collective, I think we're quite back on with some of the outer planetary influences. So Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. I've been feeling, well, also the whole thing, this whole little circle, little spiral dance that I was just on is another word of encouragement to listen to the wisdom that comes through your body, to believe in your intuition. And as you're training up yourself, you have to make a policy for yourself. Are you going to believe yourself the first time? Are you going to go for like 2 times? Or is it like max 3? Like, just make a commitment to yourself. My commitment is I listen the first time. And if it's something really that I want to make sure I got a real accurate read on, I'll ask the question 3 times. If I get the same answer 3 times, cool. I also used to use that when I lived in India, asking for directions somewhere. If I got the same directions 3 times, then I felt like I got the right directions. So practical applications in countries where nothing's labeled. Yeah. Cool, thanks. Next person that comes along, you're like, hey, do you know where the Yes. So this moon, the collective, where are we at? Ooh, I've been seeing some things in my meditations lately. Me personally, I think it is partly the affect of this moon. Like my intuitive and psychic things have been like way high and a little revved. So I'm trying to work with that, and just mitigate, largely failing, to be honest with you. But just trying to mitigate, but it's kind of a bad combination that I think falls under the umbrella of anxiety, of too much to do, revved engine, and then this like crazy like third eye thing going on. It's kind of a bad combination in the end. It's fun and exciting and super insightful, but then like wildly impractical and nauseating. So it's overload. I'm working with it, but it's been a struggle. And many insights. I started seeing the collective. I haven't seen the collective in a while. It's been covered. The last time I was trying to see into the collective sphere of things, like where are we at, kind of thing. Well, I mean, if we've been hanging out for the last many months, we're just in this like in between thing. We're just in this long extended Barthel. Like, well, we're still in that, by the way. And then the phase before that was this odd netherworld thing, where like things were fermenting and forming in this. It's a netherworld. It's upside down. So it like it's upside down. So I'd be hanging out in there and it was just nebulous, as if like the future was not constructed. It's just nebulous and forming and morphing, and but there's movement and like a dancey fluidity in there and all these fun colors and you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's just kind of forming. So it went from there to just straight up the in between, which we're still in. And then some of these insights pop through today that we are in a huge, massive, like big deal growth moment. But I'd love to give it a yes but I'm afraid today it's a but. If the container wasn't prepared, it's a bit much. So it's like the juice is hitting, but if the thing wasn't cleansed and purified enough, then it is amplifying the negatives a lot. And I've seen that reflected in the healing space. Like, you know, I've seen that in my own just general consciousness, my like Yoli consciousness, all the touch points that I have, which in overload seems like too much. But then like capitalism marketing is like more, more reach, more post, bigger network. Like I'm not sure I'm handling the one that exists. You know, just is this part of this sort of unchecked growth moment while we're in this like kind of malefic eclipse thing? Yes. Oh, okay. I feel nauseous and dizzy again. Yeah. Yeah. So I wonder, you know, just putting it out there for you to ponder if you're seeing, you know, anything along these lines within yourself, within the people around you. But we've hit some kind of like a timer went off and it's collective growth time. And it's spiritual. It's like spiritual upgrade time. So I'm being the messenger here, just sharing the message on that one. It's compound growth time and humans aren't handling it well. That's the short of it. Yeah. Compound growth time and humans are not handling this well. And then zoom it all the way down to the human realm and our stupid construct. That seems like stupider and stupider every day, at least to me. I think it's because I'm going deeper and deeper into the spiritual, and so it's just like stupider and stupider. This economic construct, this political construct, the social construct, all of it, super stupid. And way down here in the human realm, we're doing a pretty piss poor job of communicating, decision making. It's that feeling of like, okay, so this thing is running amok and we're just gonna keep letting it run amok because somebody's profiting? Like, is this seriously what we're doing? it's getting as if it could get more and more senseless. That's what it feels like. Now, that's Ketu. That's the influence of the south node of the moon. And this moon is Sun, Venus, Ketu, in sidereal Virgo. Ketu, Rahu, the nodes of the moon, are what eat the sun and moon for an eclipse. So when we're looking at the zodiac, we're looking at where the south node is and where it is in the zodiac map and the constellations, and who's with it, and the opposite. So the moon, this is a very moony thing. Moon is with Rahu, north node of the moon in sidereal Pisces, in the lunar mansion of Purvabhadra, which is way at the end of the zodiac, almost at the complete end of the zodiac. So when we're talking about the complete, there's only 2 more lunar mansions before we're at the tail end. So this is like the ball mount of the foot. We're coming towards the edge there. That means completion. That means major cyclic completion. When the moon, new or full moon, is happening at the end of the zodiac. Like similarly, if you were at the beginning of the zodiac, it would be new beginnings, you kind of thing. So I think Neptune is also in the mix. I don't know, Pluto's also in the mix. I didn't look into the outer planets real well. Uranus is in Taurus at the moment, and Venus is in the mix with Ketu. So when we start looking at these planets and these constellations, what we see are difficult times for relationships, anything to do with Venus. So like it might be a little weird right now. Creativity, creative output, romance might be a little bit weird right now. Neptune's with Rahu, yeah. But those outer planets are going to be for the collective, kind of thing. So Neptune with Rahu makes sense for this like growth portal, the spiritual growth portal that's coming through. Like that's Rahu with Neptune right there. Like, wow. I like Neptune. Like Neptune is like watery and creative. You can think of Neptune as like higher active of Venus, So I love the collective influence of Neptune. It'll be like new technology and spirituality and like fusing of material and spiritual, and yeah, love it, love that, because I grew up with that era, Uranus Neptune influence. But as I was talking with our beloved community astrologer Pamela McDonough, she reminded me that Pluto is very much in the mix right now. So that's the like dark, subversive, secretive, deep government. It's also revolution, the masses, like as indicator of the masses, but could be draconian, could be dark, and not in a fun way. So I already described it, but now I'm just describing it through the language of the planets. There are still dark forces, human ones, at work, allowing for senseless activity to flourish. And because of the effect of that node of Ketu, the south node of the moon, Ketu will show headless activity. So like people running around with their heads cut off, senselessness. But what is the combination of suppression, violence, and senselessness in humans? Yeah, it's usually like senseless, violent activity can also show up in nature with seismic activity and floods. Everything I named has happened within the last 48 hours. There's been senselessness, there's been seismic activity, and there has been historic flooding. Like this. There has been violence. There has been war. Like that. Like, just open up a social media, open up a news, you'll see it all right there. So we're a little challenged. Venus with Ketu and Sun in Virgo. Oh, we're a little challenged. It's a little scattered. Relationships, like if relationship stuff is coming up right now, let it go. You're not resolving it today or tomorrow, or earlier, not 48 hours earlier. Oh no, and that might be intimate relationships, that might be business partnerships, that might be contract work, that might be your clients. Oh yeah, give it a sec. We're butting up portals, actually, because pretty much today's Tuesday. The equinox is Sunday. The fall equinox is Sunday. And if we count 3 days, so 3 days before, so that's Saturday, Friday, Thursday. So the full moon is later this evening as we're talking. And the eclipse happens in the evening time as well. And then so that'll lead into Wednesday with the full moon portal. And right when we start trailing off the full moon portal, and Venus on Wednesday will move into sidereal Libra. Yay. So Venus is going to go from one of the most difficult places, one of its most difficult placements in the whole zodiac, to one of its best. So seriously, just give the relationship stuff a couple days if that's what's popping, because Venus will be like, and fluff herself in all her silks and feathers and things, and she'll have a nice spa and be like, oh, my time in Virgo was decidedly difficult, and luckily it's now over. I've returned to my palace in Libra. Yay. And she's gonna help us mitigate some things, find balance again. That's gonna be lovely. You will feel it. You will absolutely feel its impact, because this Venus transit with Ketu has been really challenging. Wowzaz. So that's Wednesday, right? So we're very close. We're very close to a deep breath, at least on a couple of aspects of things. Like Sun will move on, like Ketu will be left alone. Ketu is actually moving in the opposite direction anyway, so we will be relieved on these matters, this tight thing. And pow, we're in the fall equinox portal. You can count that 3 days before and 3 days after. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday's the day, and it'll extend 3 days after. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we gotta feel into that. But what it's all calling for, if we just group the whole week, what it's calling for is just presence through practice, really and truly. This isn't the time where we make big decisions, make big purchases, do big things, have big fallouts. Save it, table the fallout for like the following weekend. It'll be a more conducive fallout. Unless it's eclipsed out and it's got to go bye, just let it go. So this is important. This is all this is how astrology helps us. We get a little heads up, right? About the waves coming in and what we're feeling, and what we can expect like this. So we've done the job that we've done, okay? In terms of our preparation, we've done what we can. Something super blessed is going to initiate in starting with this moon. So we can kind of count it from tomorrow. And that's in the Vedic calendar. And it's called Pitri or Pittu Paksha. And they've done the English translation as the fortnight of the ancestors. Well, you know, fortnight is British language like this, and it means basically 2 weeks. I remember being in India, they're like, it'll be ready in a fortnight. I was like, when? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay. A fortnight. So I was thinking about this because, you know me, I love time with the ancestors, like BFFs, those ones. And I'm in pretty deep with them. And I encourage everybody else to get in deep, and have these healing journeys. So this is the seasonal portal of the ancestors for the South Asian calendar. And so I want to give you this reminder today. Why, yeah, but what about Samhain? What about, Dia de los Muertos, right? It seems like we do have a portal that's around October 31st-ish, and the Christians come along and make All Saints Day, you know what I mean? And so we know about that one. So then is Pitri Paksha something different? Yes, because remember, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're pretty much rocking 4 seasons, right? Autumn, winter, spring, summer. And in the South Asian area of the world, it's 6 seasons. You get a monsoon and a rainy, or your extra ones. Well, they're not extra, they're accurate for that climate. So the seasonal cycles move in a different time frame than in the Northern Hemisphere. And the ancestor portal for the traditions stewarded by land and people of South Asia, it's the next 2 weeks, is the special ancestor portal. So I want to just before I go into the ancestor portal part, I want to pause and just loop back to something I was going on about at the start of this circle. So does that mean that it's real? Modern day questioning hat, wait, does it only work if you are in South Asia? Okay. No, this portal doesn't only work if you're in South Asia, but it is going to be hella amplified if you are. Because this is a seasonal cyclic understanding from that land, stewarded by that people. But here's another thread I'm going to bring in. This globalization thread and this insight that I had, this meditative insight on where we're at right now. I saw the most beautiful weave of globalization in my meditation, of how we are in one of the most unique moments in human history ever, where it doesn't matter where you are, and it doesn't matter which system. So I'll come back to a decolonial hat of cultural appropriation and this, that. But just for a second, just be with me in this super expansive thing, right? That we have access right now to all the traditions. We have to act responsibly, but all the traditions. And it's like we're in an abundance of blessings as a result. And we can mix and mingle in any system. It doesn't have to be the land you're born on and the one you're born into. So be aware of people that are still feel the need to promote a model such as that. We're not saying they're wrong. I'm just giving you a little window from the future now, that like, if you would like to come on into the future thing, this is what is available right now and what will continue to enhance. So I'm using this example of Pitri Paksha, the fortnight of the ancestors. Like, if it's something that you want to tap into, you can. If it's something you want to practice, or share with others or incorporate into your writing or your arts, honor, not appropriate. It's not a difficult model, right? You state the land where the tradition is from and the people who stewarded it. Like it, and we are in the age we're in. We have access to all these knowledge systems. And we're supposed to be collaging. We're supposed to be having actually a lot of fun. Believe it or not. It's just this dumbass construct that has us out here not having fun. So Pitri Paksha, what South Asian folks have historically done in this 2-week window, it's same as Dia de los Muertos, same as in the sense of the veil between the ancestral spirit world and our world is very thin. And we are in close communion. Remember, the Vedic culture was highly ritualistic. Like these rituals were, but I mean, also the rituals of the Egyptians and the rituals of the Nubians and the rituals of the Incans and the rituals of the Aztec and the Mayans. Like, what an era the last one was. Rituals were very powerful, and central to community living. So in this portal, a type of ritual called Shraddha would be done in specific times, that is an honoring of the ancestors. It's like death rites. Again, all the ancestor courses we've done, all the things I've encouraged you to do are the practices and prescriptions for ancestor time of the year. So look, you could say, but is ancestor time only these 2 weeks? No. But there's a super portal concentration. If you want to tap into it, you can. With this. And the whole autumn season, the veil is thinning. And that portal around Samhain, October 31st, is when the veil is at its thinnest. Now, that's not just the ancestral world. Samhain is the portal to the whole spirit world. So sometimes it gets a little lively if you have the sight, the perception of the spirits. Yeah, it can get a little exciting during that time. So just some little nuances like that, but I hope you can tap in a little to what I'm sharing here, that like, oh, there is just the worst of humanity showing up right now. But I gotta tell you, in the spirit world, like in the spiritual realm of human existence and the interconnected web of life, it's super blessed right now. Super blessed. Wow. I was like breath taken away at seeing the global weave and like access to like that. And real talk, yes, and who has access and who doesn't, who gets to be an expert and who doesn't, what is the quality, is what you're interacting with stolen or has it been honored? Yeah, we still have to do all that. too, because that's a spiritual practice. That's a dismantling practice. It's a liberatory practice. And that's the part where you roll up the sleeves and you get in the muck. Yeah. There's a few other astrological things going on. There's some challenge. There's constriction, right? There's Mars in there. There's Saturn retrograde. It's my personal source of constriction in my chart, And yeah. So let's see if there's any little tidbits. It's a kind of a short chapter in the Bepin Bihari Myths and Symbols of Vedic Astrology, my favorite reference here. See if there's anything else in here that we could consider about this full moon. And then it'll be fun to hear some of you guys' observations. So we're in sidereal Pisces. I didn't pay attention to the degrees. So the first three fall within Saturn. Real by Aquarius, last quarter is in Pisces. So we're in that Jupiterian Pisces end of it. We are. So when we're looking at these lunar mansions, like some of the themes that we're looking at, like we could look at the ruler. That's more technical. What's really helpful for us is looking at the presiding deity and the symbol, and then interpreting some of that. And so, meaning making. This deity, I think, is often misrepresented because anything, but there's the one-footed goat reveals the deeper implications of the asterism. So Aja Ekapada represents the unborn transcendent cosmic energy. You would think, oh, it's a goat, this is animalistic, it's lowly. No, this is a very elevated earthly symbol that represents infinity. An entity without motion, one leg. Also no speech. So we're talking about something extremely primordial before speech. And so as this male deity, unformed, without speech, this is a form of Shiva. If you're tracking some of the themes from the last month as well, we've been in Shiva's section here. Shiva gets another section in kind of early spring. We're in the Shiva section. Ganesh Puja started. Remember, Ganesh is son of Shiva. This is the purification time and the lead up. Then we get the ancestors, a couple of weeks with the ancestors. And on the tail end of our time with the ancestors, our savioress comes to earth in the form of Ma Durga. And from there, it goes darker and more wrathful into the realm of Makali, Tarakali, wrathful deities. Yeah, some of us are like, waiting. The personalities turn on in this time of year. Okay. So just doing a little skimming here. This is cool. The role of Aja Ekapada is to concretize the essence of manifestation into the unpolarized positive cell, which subsequently assumes many forms at the different levels of creation. So Aja Ekapada is non-binary. Unpolarized latent talent, latent creative energy, which produces the different levels of existence. Wow. As a vehicle of Agni, the fire which energizes all life forms, Aj Ekpada takes the abstract image of Rohit, it's another Vedic deity, differentiates it, and then provides warmth and nourishment so that it can succeed in completing its journey. As I'm reading this, my comparative methodology brain has turned on, and I'm thinking about 9 forms of Durga. And I'm thinking about who's the third one? Is Ma Chandraganta the third one? Yeah, it's Ma Chandraganta vibes, but like before her bell gets rung. Still the primordial. Not quite primordial, it's creative potential in a non-binary form. So like you can take the concept and then plug it into an identical system. So this is Vedic and I'm pulling from Shakta when I'm playing comparative games in my head, which I do every day. Mm-hmm. Mm. The impulse flowing through Purvabhadra, over which Ajayakapada presides, so this star and this deity, stands at the border of manifestation on one side and the state of latency on the other. I mean, super pause. Like, I feel this in my personal reflections right now. I have felt like I'm being held in latency. Like, I keep trying to push something into manifestation and it's not happening. Some things are happening, but the things that are happening are service. Yeah, healing service. Seems like there's a high demand for healing service. Uh-huh. It is an energy which can be expressed both in an upward and downward movement. Ajayakapada refers to the stage of cosmic ideation on which one side is pure, undifferentiated energy. Okay. I'm skimming. So interesting. I mean, even this is interesting. Like, as far as Aja Ekapada is concerned, it presides over a realm of passivity, which actually is not passive. Like, that's what we're in right now. And that's totally the feeling. Like Lord Shiva in his cosmic dance, Ajay Kapada arouses the scintillating, outgoing energy, which enables external motion, but in itself is completely still, with no activity, either subjective or objective on any level. It's difficult to comprehend. At our level of manifestation, so us down here in the human realm, this can be observed on the paths of both involution and evolution. It can be seen in all the separatist propensities, which must be unified into one essential energy to enable the individual to become attuned to the permanent ray on which the universal evolutionary impulse has destined them to proceed. Wow, that's the sentence. This emphasis on oneself, arousing the urge to stand completely on our ones without aid, on our ones without aid or support from any external source, can appear as eccentricity, originality, or rebellious tendencies, unmindful of the opinions and reactions of the world at large. Wow, it's like all of us. For the individual already ahead on the path of evolution, it is expressed as an urge to work for a universal principle without any consideration for one's own personal welfare. Yeah. So this influence for those on the materialistic path will become self-centered, maniac, antisocial individuals. This is also a reference to, like, if you have planets in this. which I do. I have Mercury in this. Yes. Whatever the form of expression of the individual under the impact of this Vedic deity, there will be a great urge to stand on our own feet without any consideration whether it will be for our personal advantage or harm. Interesting. This complete self-reliance for outer or inner growth is symbolized by a sword. The sword is an instrument for attack as well as defense. The fight can originate from an altruistic cause or for achieving some nefarious end. The sword signifies the act more so than the motive for it. As a symbol for Purva Abhadra, the sword suggests the work for universal unity where courage, vision, and self-involvement, irrespective of the consequences, accepting the goal are concerned. Wow, it's a very brave space, this space. This asterism leads to universal unity. A great centralizing force, accessing determination needed to emerge successful in conflict and turmoil. And this is an active and dramatic influence. How interesting. So I feel like the question then for you is, what are you going to choose to galvanize with this energy, right? Like, how are you going to apply meditative tools so that you can be in the game, not just be batted around? Like, no, don't be the ball in the game, like be a player in the game. Well, what kind of game are you trying to play right now? You know, like what's coming through? I think we can always harp on the ills of humanity and how dastardly things are at this time. And I think we need to name it. And I think we need to also consider like how we are applying it. So that's my quest for those of us that remain.